GPT 5.6 shipped this week. It writes tighter code than the last flagship at half the price. And in its top mode, it spins up its own little helper agents and works on its own for hours. And the first thing I did with it, 30 years into this career, was babysit it like it was going to burn my house down. Approved every step, reread every line it wrote, drove it like an intern I didn't trust yet. Meanwhile, some kid a third my age typed one sentence, walked away to make a sandwich, and came back to a working app. I want to talk about why that keeps happening. Because it turns out the thing I'm the proudest of, the experience, is low-key the thing holding me back. There's a study everybody throws around when they want to dunk on AI coding. Meter, last year, took experienced developers, sat them down on their own code bases with AI tools, and they came out 19% slower. And here's the part that made it go viral. They felt 20% faster. They walked away certain the tool had helped them, while it actually cost them a fifth of their time. Perfect ammo. Except the honest version has a second half those vids skip. Meter ran it again this year with a bigger group, and the slowdown mostly vanished, down to a few percent. Not even statistically solid anymore. So the clean headline was shaky. But look at what survived. These were experts who couldn't feel whether the tool was helping them. That was still true. To tell you the truth, that's scarier than the original number because it means the ground shifts under you, the gut you spent 20 years building stops giving you a reliable reading, and it doesn't tell you it stopped. Now, let me mince some words here, because the lazy take is old bad, young good. And that's wrong. And it's a little insulting to both. Yes, the research keeps showing beginners gaining 30+% from these tools, while the top people gain almost nothing. But there's a newer paper that complicates it in the direction that actually matters. The people who get the most out of AI are not the youngest ones, they're the most fluent ones. And fluency and seniority are just not the same axis. A veteran who learned to let the agent run will lap everybody in the building. A veteran still driving it like a fancy autocomplete gets smoked by a 19-year-old. The curse was never experience. It's experience that never turned into knowing when to take your hands off the wheel. Which means your 20 years might right now be worth less than some kid's 0. Not forever, but today. If you're still holding onto the leash like you're walking an angry German shepherd through a crowd of cats. So if you're just getting into this, vibe coding your first little thing, feeling like a door has finally opened that was closed your whole life, good. It did open. I'm not here to pull the ladder up behind me. I'm here to tell you the door you walked through was never the hard part. And that's the actual thing 30 years taught me, and it has almost nothing to do with code. Think about building anything, start to finish. Most of it, call it 80%, is figuring out what to build and why and for who. Planning, judgment, taste. The building is maybe the other 20. And inside that 20, the part that's literally writing code is maybe a fifth of that. Because the rest is testing and fixing and making it not fall over at 3 a.m. So the raw act of typing code, the thing we gate kept and boot camped and made people grind leet code for, was always something like the 20% of the 20%. A rounding error we built a priesthood around. AI didn't kill coding, it just called the bluff on how little of the work coding ever was. You can see it in who's actually winning. There's a guy who did 400 million in sales his first year, solo, basically no staff, all built on AI tools. Sounds like the dream. Look closer though. It's a telehealth company selling weight loss meds. The moat is the demand and the distribution and the trust that it takes to get a stranger to put a drug into their body. The code was the easy part, by a long shot. Another guy built a tool with AI and sold it for $80 million in 6 months. The buyer was Wix. They didn't want his code. They wanted his audience. And for every one of those, there's a graveyard nobody films. They're calling it the vibe coding hangover. You ship a gorgeous demo in a weekend. You hit $1 million in revenue. Everyone claps. And 6 months later, it's held together with tape and hope. A third of these founders never wrote a single test. When a real company comes to buy them, 1 in 5 walks the second they look under the hood. The demo was never the business. The demo was the 20% of the 20% wearing a suit. So what's left when anyone can build anything? The boring stuff that doesn't have anything to do with typing words into a computer. Whether people trust you. Whether you have an audience before you have a product. Whether you have the taste to know what's even worth making. In a world about to drown in things that were easy to make. And that part still makes me laugh. The money has completely caught up to this. The big venture firms, A16Z and the Sequoia crowd, are now saying out loud that the model isn't the moat. Distribution is. One of them put it perfectly. A clever prompt buys you a few weeks. A distribution channel buys you years. The venture capitalist and the burned out old developer finally agree on one thing. And it's that the code was never the point. I don't fully know whether to feel free or a little stupid. I spent a career getting elite at the 20% of the 20%. And the machine just made that part free and pointed at everything I'd been avoiding. The people, the taste, the going out and being known. So tell me which one you are. The vet holding on too tight, or the beginner who doesn't even know there's a leash to drop? I think that answer decides the next 5 years, and I'm not at all sure it lands where any of us expected.